Tell The Bartender. There's the music, all right. I'm your host, Katharine Heller. This is the storytelling podcast where we get together and you tell your stories. What's going on, guys? I'll tell you what's going on.
What's going on?
We have some amazing guests tonight. We have actor, singer, writer, waiter. The Bitchy Waiter is here. Bitchy Waiter. Actor, singer, awesome person. He's made of unicorn beads and like love sweat. Norm Lewis is here. He's here. He's here. To my left, my main lady, my bar back, my co-host Jordan McDonough is here. You're here. She's here to pay a Craigslist Ad or casting notice with our guests, and also later on with one lucky member of the audience, Bar Talk. So, I'm real jazzed. Thanks for being here, you guys. Yeah, it's like snowing and you guys are here, which is pretty awesome. So, normally I like to start the show with a story. And I usually like to talk about my slutty sister or, making fun of her kid. It's just a plethora of just nothing but fun with her. But you know what? I've been getting a little controversial lately. I have. For example, for the New York Comedy Festival show, I read out loud an actual email exchange I had between myself and a hummus company that donated money that happened to filter into the killing of children in the Gaza Strip. And I said, your hummus make me taste sad. And they wrote back to me. We had a great exchange, and I thought that would be super controversial. And it wasn't. And it turns out that I got some hate mail, though, recently. I know, my first ever hate mail 5 months ago, and it had, thank you so much, it had to do with a similar show where I didn't talk about the Palestine, but at the same show I mentioned in passing as a joke, guys, sorry, I'm going to say it.
Just do it.
Straight white guys who quote Dan Savage too much. I'm sorry! But it's just, there's a little small, I love Dan Savage. I think he's wonderful. I think he's done so much for every single movement. I think he's really smart and funny.
Yeah,
However, there's a certain small percentage of the population, straight white men, that tend to quote him when they cherry pick because they want to shame their girlfriends into having threesomes with their sisters. Do you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with having a threesome with my sister. Nothing at all. But as I was prepping this, so this is a letter I got that I wrote back to, but as I was prepping it this morning, no joke, I got my second hate mail today at 10 o'clock a.m., right as I was emailing you. And it was from a guy, and we'll get to this in another show because I can't even handle it right now, but he wrote a letter to my boss. I don't have a boss. I am the producer of this show, but he wrote a letter to Tell The Bartender podcast at gmail.com, and he said, your host, Katharine Heller, is a wonderfully outspoken feminist, and yet she was a guest on a certain podcast that is decidedly not feminist. So I'm really offended as a feminist man that she's choosing to go on this show, and I'm like, and so I wrote back to him and I said, noted, she's fired. and then I said, just kidding, it's me. And I was like, I kind of have the right to do whatever I want. I'm sorry you didn't like it. You don't got to listen to my show anymore. And then he wrote back something else nasty, but that's another story. Let's get to the Dan Savage guy. Okay. So after I got this email 5 months ago, I waited a full week before I wrote back to him because I wanted him to think about what he'd done. And when I did, I took chunks of his email and responded to each paragraph individually. And I'll tell you, we sort of do disagree about a lot of things, but the only thing we agree about is several times in the email, he's like, I know you're going to use this in your show, and that's the only thing he's right about. So, without further ado, I'd like to present to you my response to an email from a guy who got his fifis hurt. So I'll be playing me, and Jordan will be playing the guy. Again, this is how I wrote back to the letter as I responded to each and every point he made. All right, so I wrote, hi, thank you so much for writing and listening to the show. Whenever I get emails, it always means a lot to me you took the time to write in. I'm sorry I didn't get back sooner. As there's a lot happening in your email, I'll respond line by line.
Katharine.
It's spelled Katharine with 2 A's, but everyone spells it wrong, so no worries.
This is the first time I've written into a producer of content I've enjoyed online, so please forgive any strangeness in my writing.
It's not strange at all. Thank you.
Also, I realize that by writing in, I am opening myself up to being turned into material for you to talk about. Not saying that what I have to say is so exceptional that you will have to bring it to public attention, just that I know that that's a risk I am taking. If this ends up being the case, I'd only ask that you just identify me by my first name.
Okay, Eric.
I was just listening to the most recent show, the live show at UCB East, and in the first bit, you said something that took me right out of the show. You said, if you're a straight white male, just stop quoting Dan Savage. I usually don't get affected like that, and I don't know why this one got to me, but it did.
It's so funny because I thought my Palestine-Israel hummus opening would be more controversial, so this is a relief. Priorities, guys.
I'm a heterosexual, cisgender, white male.
Congrats!
And I listen to Dan Savage all the time.
Okay.
When I found his podcast a few years ago, I went through his archive and listened to all 200 plus episodes at the time. I quote him to friends and family when I am trying to make a point about homosexual rights, women's rights, sexual education, and I do this mainly because I feel that he expresses some of those things more eloquently than I do. Hell, I quoted directly from one of his podcasts for my wedding vows a couple years ago.
I'm pretty sure that's the definition of insufferable if you look it up in the dictionary. It's like, oh, it better be an open bar. All right, so I wrote back, cool. I don't agree with everything he says, but I think his point of view is important.
I was just wondering, were you saying that because I'm not part of a minority or an oppressed group? I am not allowed to enjoy his writing or advice or to share his opinions?
You actually don't need my permission to talk about anything.
Would I be allowed to be a part of the group that can quote Dan Savage if I told you that I am also kinky?
High five, me too. If you go back to many of my old episodes, I talk openly about kinks. See past episodes with Kevin Allison and Bastard Keith. I think it's very important to be public about it.
That I have been a part of the kink culture for almost 10 years and have been on the leadership of 2 TNG kink groups, one in Atlanta and one in San Diego. What other bona fides would I need to produce in order, in your opinion, that would allow me to quote Mr. Savage?
Thank you for your resume. Kidding, I am not the boss of you, but I'm honored that you think I am. But seriously, if I may, about Dan Savage. If you listen to my old episodes, you hear me talk with straight, gay, trans, bi, pansexual, queer, and questioning people about they've had many problems with Dan Savage's opinions on bisexuality, trans issues, fat shaming, etc. So in my experience, when some people quote him, it can sometimes come off as insensitive to those whose feelings have been hurt. I trust you aren't one of those guys. But based on the way your email devolved into demanding and insulting, I'm guessing you probably are. Therein lies the comment I made on stage, thus you proving my point. Also, I feel that the email wasn't sent to open an honest discussion. I feel it was just to be provocative and condescending. Well done, sir.
I know that if this gets used in your show or even mentioned by you to your boyfriend or friends, I'm going to be another privileged white guy bitching about people attacking his privilege. And I guess I am, so mock away in any venue you like.
Okay.
Sorry for petering out at the end there.
Yeah, that got kind of weird. Thanks for listening, best Katharine. Okay, Jordan McDonough, ladies and gentlemen, playing the part of a privileged white guy like nobody's business. All right. First guess, you may have just seen him in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. You may have seen him in Porgy and Bess. You may have seen him as Olivia Pope's boring boyfriend on Scandal. I don't care, she chose wrong. But I know him best as my favorite role ever. He was in the original Broadway cast of Tommy. What? Ladies and gentlemen, Norm Lewis! To be rude, I'm looking at it just to let you know that I know you have to leave at a certain time because you're a very busy person.
Yeah.
So my first question for you is, you just finished Phantom.
Yes.
You've been so many Broadway shows. You're a Tony nominee. Yeah. You're on TV all the time. The last night of Phantom, what is it like to be a working actor? No, I'm joking. No, but seriously, folks. No, but really, what's it like? First of all, I just want to say, people are probably wondering how this came to be.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell the brief story about why it is you're sitting here right now?
Yeah, well, I was walking down the street. I was on my phone.
On your phone?
On my phone. I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, but it was pretty heavy. And this really, really nice young lady said, "Excuse me," and I think she was hitting on me. At least that's what I'll say. I'll make it juicy that way. But I forgot the question you asked, but it was something about, weren't you in Porgy and Bess or something like that? Or
it was my mother, you guys.
Yeah.
My mother interrupts. I wouldn't interrupt my best friend. I saw my best friend Sonia on the street yesterday, and I said, "Hey," and she's like, "I'm on the phone." Like, this is someone I've known since high school, and my mother's never met you, and she interrupted you.
But you know what? She had such a kind face. I said, I told my friend, I said, "You know what? Let me give you a call back." And so I hung up the phone, and we talked for a while.
And then
we did. And then you know, she was concerned. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was so sweet. And then I said, if you ever come to Phantom, make sure that you let me know, and you can come backstage. And not long after that.
It was like 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That night.
My mother is the queen of walking over to celebrities. This is why we ended up having dinner with Oasis, because I was crying at my sister's birthday dinner. I was like, "Oh my God, Oasis!" We were at Nobu, and she's like, "Let me go over and talk to them." She does that, and she's wonderful for doing that.
God bless her.
And you were so nice to have us come to Fandom and hang out with us after the show, and then now doing this.
Yeah, this is a treat. This is one of the highlights of my career, actually. Seriously, this is awesome. This is awesome. You're very clever. You're very smart. You're very pretty.
Brooklyn loves you.
Now, can I have a threesome with you and your sister?
My sister is, yeah. I would like to end on that, and good night, everybody. So you have so many amazing stories to tell, but is there anything you wanted to tell, or the ones that we talked about a little bit earlier?
We can go anywhere you want. I mean, if people have any questions, the thing.
Actually, you know what? I do have a listener question.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I did a little contest.
Did you?
Earlier on Facebook last night, where I said, if you write in a question to all my fans, and there were like thousands of people writing, and it was really exciting, to either Norm or the Bitchy Waiter, I will give them a prize and also read you the question on the show. So the first question, the one that won, the first winner, is somebody who follows me on Twitter, and I followed him because his handle is Sad Whale Family, which is the funniest thing ever. He also wrote a couple of weeks ago when I found out you were going to be on the show that he fell in love with your voice on a New Brain CD. First original Cassidy. And his name is Lucas Wynn, and his question is, have you ever been served by the Bitchy Waiter?
No.
Not yet.
No, I've been served by bitchy waiters, but not this one, the famous one in particular. But
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Wonderful.
One day.
So I guess I was curious about how you sort of became an actor, because it's an amazing story to me. You told us a little bit about this on the stage of the Majestic Theater at Phantom, which you share with them, because you were not going to be an actor.
No, I was. I didn't know I could sing until I was 17, and I was sang in church.
How did you learn you could sing?
Well,
I thought I could sing when I was 2.
Well, what had happened was, my grandfather was a preacher, and my dad was very high up in the church, so I lived in church as a youngster, and basically when you gave your life to God, you kind of joined the choir, and it was a rite of passage whether you could sing or not. And yeah, truly, and there were some people who could not sing, but it didn't matter because it was God hated them and blasted them. But make a joyful noise and all that kind of stuff. And so every Sunday I was in the choir, or at least one of those Sundays during the month. And but I never had a solo, so no one ever gave me accolades. I just did it because of spiritual reasons. And then in high school, you have to have so many electives to graduate, so they put me in home economics, and I was like, I don't want that. So I said, hey, I sing in church, so I'll go sing in choir at the school. It'll be an easy A, I'll meet some girls, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I had my aha moment, and that's when I first started singing in a different language, and seeing notes, because in my church you just kind of heard the music and you just sang that as you memorized it. But I saw notes and I started reading notes, and all this beautiful music started coming out. And so I found this love for classical music, and then later on Broadway, because the next year I was a senior and I joined our Glee choir. I joined it was called Great Feeling. It was a dance sort of.
It's okay. My improv group in college was called Fresh Concepts, so we can all agree that we've done some things.
But it was, well, what was so weird about ours is that we had, back in my day, because I'm an old guy, back in my day, the cowboy look was out. So we had these cowboy-looking shirts that were red and white.
I'm sorry. After saying the thing about the threesome with my sister, now I'm picturing you as a cowboy. We're done here.
Yeah.
We're done for the night. No, so.
But I can still wear boots. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe does that do anything? But yeah. So I didn't major in. I just thought it was a hobby, and then I didn't major in music. I majored in business in college, and I worked in advertising.
So, question, because I majored not in theater, even though I knew I wanted to be an actor, because I was scared.
Right.
And I majored in communications because I'm an idiot. But that's what I'm doing. I'm talking and acting. But did you do it because you were too worried about an actor's life?
Not really. I just thought, I didn't know if I was good enough. I just thought it was something that was kind of a hobby. And God, now you're getting psychological. But I was always good at things, but I was never great at anything.
How do you feel about that?
My mother beat me when I was a kid. No, I needed it. What do you call it? No, but I was always good at stuff. I played tennis. I was good at it, but I was never great at it. I wasn't number one in the state of Florida or in the world or whatever. But I did get a lot of attention singing, and so that was something that I owned. But I still never thought I was good enough to do anything else with it professionally. So I wanted something tangible. I said, let me go and get my business degree, and I worked in advertising for 5 years. But I still sang on the side.
Like karaoke bars?
No, I actually sang.
No, I'm doing serious.
No, I actually sang for wedding bands, in front of and I also back in my day, the American Idol was Star Search, and so there were these Star Search-esque contests in Florida, Orlando in particular, and I won some, I lost some, but one that I won, there was a judge in the audience who was a producer for a cruise ship, and because of that, I won the contest, and he came up to me and asked me if I'd like to join the cruise ship. And that's what started it.
And I remember seeing your interview on CBS This Morning, I think it was, that my mom had seen, and you talked to your supervisor.
Right, my supervisor.
You were like, oh, I don't know, should I go on this cruise ship?
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Yeah, because I was going to get married. I mean, I was going to have my 3.2 kids and my BMW.
Oh, but you weren't actually engaged.
Yeah, I kind of was, yeah. Ooh.
Sorry.
Scandal. Dun, dun, dun. Hence the show that I was on.
That you're just on, yeah.
Thank you.
Wait, so... Wait, did you? I mean, not to get too personal, but I mean, did this break up your?
Well, she gave me permission, if you will. I mean, she encouraged me to do it as well. But yeah, eventually it became something that we had to decide on, and moving to New York and blah blah blah. And
wow.
Yeah, we didn't think it was going to get that far, and who knew?
Yeah, so the cruise ship worked out.
The cruise ship worked out.
And then you got Tommy right after that.
Not exactly, but a few years after that, like about 3 or 4 years after that.
Oh.
And yeah, I didn't know that I had something that people wanted to hear and wanted to see. So
what was the moment where you were like, yeah, I can do this for a living?
I think,
or do you still live in fear like I do?
Well, I mean, yeah, I do. Actually, I do. I mean, it's funny because you talk to people who Vanessa Williams and Audra McDonough, and let me pick that up. But people I've worked with, and we all say the same thing. It's like, I'm scared we're going to get found out that we're not real.
Is that true?
Oh my God, yeah.
Because a lot of my actor friends, like we feel less than. We're like, we're faking it till we make it, and like, oh wow, they cast me in it, so they really know. And it's a weird sense of self-doubt that I think keeps pushing you forward.
Yeah, and you want to do better, yeah.
Because I found that the actors with too much ego aren't very good. I don't know.
Yeah. or people that, or if they are really good and they get that kind of attention, sometimes you don't want to be around them personally. So,
Interesting.
And I always wanted to, I mean, I have a great reputation of being a nice guy. If I can say anything about myself, I'm a nice guy.
No, you're too nice of a guy. I gotta be honest with you. So speaking of being a nice guy, yeah, cheers to more.
But, I don't get caught up in all of the other things, about being the best or whatever. It's, there's a wide world out there, there's abundance. And so, if I don't get the job, I hope someone that I love and know gets the job. And
I feel that way too, and luckily they are all getting the jobs. No, I'm joking. Actually, I did just book something, so there's that. Thank you. So real quick before we get to Craigslist Ad or casting notice, because I know you have, speaking of booking jobs, you got a job tomorrow, so you actually have to jet soon.
I got a jet, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
The last night of Phantom, when we saw you on stage, you said, I haven't had a drink in many months because you have to keep your own vocal rest and you can't drink because it's bad for your throat. What was the first night of drinking a shit ton of margaritas like?
Oh my God. Well, I started the show May 12th of last year, and as of May 20th, I took my last drink, and then I just finished February 7th. So
you've been drunk for 20 days now.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. I wake up drinking. No, but it's interesting. I'm not like someone who has to have alcohol, but it's kind of nice to have a glass of wine. But as soon as that last note of Phantom hit that night, I had a margarita waiting for me in my room. Yeah, that's my favorite drink. So just FYI, if we're out and we see each other, margarita on the rocks.
Well, I would love to buy you so many margaritas. You do leave soon, but real quick, there's a young lady in the audience whose birthday it is next week.
Oh, yeah.
And she's my mom. And she had me at the tender age of 27, so that puts her at 47? Perfect.
47.
I know, 47 years young. So Michelle, would you all, I know you're on vocal rest, so I need all your guys' help.
I'm not on vocal rest.
Would you mind terribly? Mom, come up here.
Oh. So how are we doing this?
Let's all sing. Let's do it. And Norm will start it off, ladies and gentlemen. My mother Michelle. Let's all sing her a happy birthday. Ready? Norm, kick it off.
Hopefully we'll pick a good key. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michelle. Happy birthday to you.
Almost gonna get you out of here. No,
I'm having a good time.
But your manager's mad at me.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, your manager.
He works for me.
And your car service. And your car service just texted me. They're like, we're outside. I'm like, I know. But actually, so before we finish, this is. Hold on a second.
Birthday.
We are sponsored. This is for you.
Oh, sponsored.
We are sponsored by Brooklyn store on Smith Street. It's awesome. You can get all stuff made in Brooklyn. It's all artisanal and locally made. You have to win this, though, Norm. So can we get Jordan McDonough back on here? All right.
Oh, you teased me.
Yes, we do.
Oh,
so
God.
We have a shot glass in here that says Oy vey.
Oh.
We have some chocolates, all Brooklyn made, locally sourced, grass-fed, artisanal makers.
I'm an honorary Jew. Does that make any difference?
This is awesome. Yeah, there's the Oy vey glass. Isn't that cool?
I'm an honorary Jew.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, because, okay, you really want to know why?
Yes.
All right. Because I went to Jerusalem and I sang in 2 concerts there. And I found out, I was 37 at the time, and I found out my middle name is Hebrew.
Which
and
is?
I never knew that. It's Orel.
What does that mean?
Orel, Or is light and El is God. Of God, actually. So I'm the light of God. Thank you. Thank you.
You should tell us that, but okay.
And funny enough, we did a medley of songs, and of course, Fiddler on the Roof was like the popular thing, and guess who got to sing? Guess who got to sing "If I Were a Rich Man"? And this is the audience reaction. Oh my God!
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. So you win this.
Yeah.
If you get this right.
Oh, God.
If you get it wrong, you still win it. Because I'm a giver.
Yes,
a giver. Don't you forget that next time we're out drinking together. All right. So this is a game called Craigslist Ad or Casting Notice. So what it is, now you should get this because you're an actor. So I have pulled either what is a legitimate Craigslist personal ad or a legitimate union casting notice.
Okay.
And you have to guess which one's which. So is this either a Craigslist ad or a casting notice? Jordan, take it away.
Looking for female, Caucasian, early 40s, tall, dark, curvy hair. Very sporty and active. She dresses for freedom of movement with no concern for style. Craigslist ad or casting notice?
I know, right?
Curvy hair?
Yeah. Or wait, maybe. Oh, sorry, I switched that. Tall, curvy, dark hair.
Oh,
curvy hair would really
curvy
cinch
hair
it.
was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say casting.
It is casting notice.
You win by Brooklyn's bag. You win everyone's love and affection. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Norm Lewis. Well, it is my birthday next week. All right, so thank you so much to Norm Lewis. Unfortunately for him, he did get a job recently, so he had to go. But we are going to play a game with a lucky member of the audience. Hold on a second while I pull this up. Called Bar Talk. And, oh, hold on. Jordan? Can I have your Bar Talk? No. Sorry about that. I was, all right, there, sorry. Anyway, yes. So can I get a volunteer from the audience right over here? Oh yeah, look at you. Come on up, come on up. There you go. So you can win, hold on, so let me just grab this over here. You can win this bottle of Gruet Rosé, because that's how we roll around here at Tell the Bartender. We are sponsored by the now defunct bar Last Exit Bar. Go for the not bar anymore, stay for the finger bang corner. Okay. So what is your name?
James.
And James, what do you do for a living?
I work in a restaurant.
You work in a restaurant. Okay, so you're going to do real well at this game, because this is, I'm going to read you 5 bar terms.
Okay.
And you have to tell me what they are. Now, you can phone a friend.
Okay.
I.e. just ask the audience.
Okay.
And if you get all of them right, you win this amazing bottle of Gruet Rosé. If you get anything wrong, you still win the bottle of Gruet Rosé. You're just playing for bragging rights at this point.
For pride.
For pride. All right,
Yes.
So James, was it?
Yes,
Okay. And where do you work?
At a restaurant in Midtown called the Molly Restaurant.
Oh, is it nice?
Yes.
Is the fish fresh?
That's what we tell people. No, I'm just kidding.
I
It's
work there
very
too, sorry guys.
No, it's totally fresh. It's totally fresh.
It's a great restaurant.
Right.
All right, are you ready to play bar
Very
talk?
cheeky fish.
Are you ready?
I am as
All
ready
right.
as I'm going to be.
Here we go. How much alcohol is in a pony?
Oh my God.
I know, right? Now, it depends on how many parties the pony's
pony
gone
keg?
to. No, an actual...
Sorry, I was trying to trick you there.
Oh,
I was trying to throw it back at you.
Wait a tick. The pony measurement.
14 ounces.
1 ounce. 1 ounce. It's okay. It's okay. You still can win. You can still win. And remember, if you don't know it, you can ask the audience.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. Yes.
Did anyone know the answer to that question? No.
I think he did. Yeah, he looks at you. Brian, you knew it?
I was going to guess it.
Oh, nice. All right. All right. Next time you should volunteer for the show.
I mean, 14 ounces is like, you could kill somebody. I'm just saying. That's a herb.
This is true.
It was like a
Thank
baker's
you.
dozen or something. I don't know.
All right. What does it mean when a customer asks you, settle down, everyone, for 3 fingers? Settle down. 3 fingers. What does it mean when a customer asks you for 3 fingers?
They're referring to a measurement on a shot.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. Thank you. Give it up. 3 fingers is yeah, how much you want in a drink. At a question number 3, you're almost there.
Okay, excellent.
At a standard bar, what do you get when you press L on the soda gun?
Thank you, sorry, Sprite or lemon,
Yes,
lemon lime soda.
That is correct. That is correct. Sprite 7-Up or lemon lime syrup. That is correct. Look at you.
For the less classy establishments.
You got it. You got it. Question number 4.
Okay.
What does it mean to sink the liquor?
I think what you mean is to marry bottles, or to like take, let's say, 2 half-full bottles of Jack Daniels and make them into
Let's
one.
say hypothetically that's not correct. Would you like to ask the audience?
Yes, I would like to ask the
Ask the audience.
Because I'm from Queens, I'd like to axe someone in the audience.
Does anyone in the audience know what it means to sink the liquor? No?
To put them in a row or sort of like line them up.
Well, it's when you're creating a drink that actually has layers to it, and you like very slowly pour like the curacao or the grenadine to give it some layers. No, it's okay. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. This one you should definitely get though.
Great.
Question number 5. What is your name? No, joking. Question.
George.
Ooh. Okay. Fernet Branca
Yes.
is a popular Amaro from
Correct.
Italy.
Yes.
What is the animal prominently featured on the bottle?
Son of a bitch.
That is correct. No.
It is, I want to say like a Pegasus or an angel on a Pegasus, on a unicorn. I'll pick other mythological creatures.
You have just described all of my dreams. But would you like to ask the audience?
I would like to ask the audience or the bartender who has Fernet back there.
It is a winged creature. Anyone? An eagle. Would you like to accept that as an answer?
I'll accept hippogriff or eagle.
Hippogriff is correct. Eagle is correct. Congratulations, you won.
Thank you.
Would you like to quickly tell everyone about your restaurant before you go while I get your prize?
We serve really unfresh fish. No, just kidding. We serve from like all sorts of Brooklyn inspired local fishermen sending it over by FedEx in a very gratuitous display of non-environmental concern. But the fish is actually very fresh, and it's on 60th Street, a block from Bloomingdale's, a Molly restaurant. We like to think we bring a little bit of Brooklyn uptown, but not too much to scare them.
James, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for playing Bar Talk. Okay. Well, now I trust that did Norm get in the car okay, Jordan? Yeah. How was the makeout sesh? Good? Excellent. Awesome. And now, for our final guest of the night, I'm so excited to have him. I've been trying to book him for a very long time, but he's very busy. He just got a book deal. He is a writer. He's a blogger. He's amazing. He's a singer as well. He's hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bitchy Waiter. Bitchy, what's going on?
Just hanging out, drinking.
So I'm going to call you BW or B-Dubs, is that okay?
That's the best.
Okay, because we don't want to use your real name even though you've been on Dr. Phil.
I have, but I don't want people Googling me.
That's true.
You know how it goes. Okay.
True. So you have quite a few stories. You got in a lot of trouble recently.
I did, and it's funny because you were talking about your hate mail.
Oh, yeah.
And I get hate mail. It's like a regular part of my day. and I printed some of it today because a couple of weeks ago, I had... Can I just tell the story?
Yes.
Okay.
This is great.
A couple of weeks ago, I stirred up some internet trouble because that's what I do. And it was about allergies. And people get really touchy about allergies. So someone had sent me a photo that they had of a business card that they had received in their job. And it was just a little business card that somebody had given to their server, and it said, hi, my name is Megan, and I am allergic to the following things. And it had like 15 or 20 things on this business card. So I just took the picture, put it into Photoshop, and made a little heading, and I had it say, Megan thinks she's a special little angel. Or maybe I said snowflake, something condescending.
I think it was snowflake.
So I put it on my Facebook page and just said, what do you think the kitchen said when the server gave them this card? That's all I put. No big deal. So I just put it up there and didn't think anything about it. And then I looked on my Facebook page a couple of hours later, and it had fucking exploded. And people had gone nuts about it. So I looked at it this morning just to see how much traction it has gotten. And that one photo got 2,774 comments, 1,100 shares. It was liked 2,600 times, and was seen by 403,000 people. So
that's like 500,000.
Yeah, I know. So it went kind of viral, and I didn't read all the comments because who has time for that? But someone
I do, but that's just me.
Honestly, I probably read about 2/3 of them. So somebody sent me an email or a Facebook message about it, and I responded. So this woman named Gina said,
I like how... Is that really her name?
It is Gina, yeah.
That is so unfortunate.
But I didn't... And when I...
Because we all know what we can call her, right?
Well, when I wrote the blog about her, I called her Vagina. So she sent me this... Here's what she said. Here's my son, because she sent me pictures of her child. Like that's appropriate. Here's my son with his dairy and peanut allergy at 4 months old, and then again at 2 years old. Not fun to look at, is it?
I love how she's taking pictures instead of calling the ambulance.
Right. Right? And I'm thinking, like, how did your 4-month-old get a hold of peanut butter? Because I'm not a parent, but I think that's a rule. You don't give your kids peanut, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I wrote back and said, no, it isn't pretty, I'm really sorry. And she wrote back, and yet it is okay to still keep the picture up. It is so frustrating that people like you guys that post things like this make it harder for us as parents to trust you. The pic has gone viral on the allergy sites that I am on, and people are trying right now to find out who's behind it. Okay, first of all, I'm behind it. I think that was pretty obvious. So, like, it doesn't take, you know, a detective. So, I wrote her back and said, I'm sorry, Gina, believe me, I'll have people hating me for something else in 2 days, and this will be old news. Have a good night. Now, at this point, I knew that I was going to write a blog about it, so I was making a real point to be very polite and sweet because I knew I was going to take a fucking screenshot of it. So she wrote me back and said, fuck you. You should be ashamed of yourself. You aren't sorry or you would have taken it down. You are a sorry excuse for a human taking up someone else's air. So, I know. So I wrote her back. I know, because I'm an asshole. But I was being really kind because I knew I was going to take a screenshot. And I said, and now you're being rude and offensive and sending me personal messages. You're the one who reached out to me, remember? Have a good night. Please discontinue the harassment. Thank you. She wrote back, fuck you, my friend. You deserve, I don't know what this means. My friend deserved to the karma that will be coming to you one day. I hope it comes tenfold. I wrote her back and said, okay, thanks, sweet dreams. And then she wrote me back, they will be, and you're welcome. I'm glad that so many people will be exposing you soon. It will make my day. So I wrote a blog about her.
Awesome. Awesome.
You blocked out her name, called her Vagina, and tried to send her the blog, but then by that point she had blocked me. So I spent a couple of days waiting to see what the revenge was going to be. You know,
right.
How was she going to expose me? And
because you've already been on TV.
Well, I'm like, it's clear. It came from the Bitchy Waiter Facebook page. It's got my fucking name all over it. There's no, it's me.
Yeah.
So 2 days passed by, nothing, and I was like, okay, whatever. She's a fucking crazy bitch. But then I opened my email and I had about 20 or 30 emails. And every single one of them was an email that was saying, welcome to the allergy website, da-da-da-da-da. Welcome to children who have allergies, da-da-da-da. It was like 20 or 30 of them.
Real clever.
Yeah. I was kind of like, touche, that's something I would have done. And then... So for the next 3 or 4 days, every day I would open my email, I had like 20 or 30. So I probably got about 60 or 75. I was subscribed to these emails. So I had to go through and unsubscribe and deal with it. But I kind of gave her props. I thought it was a snarky,
that is the kind of thing I would do. I would do that
Way
too.
to go, Vagina.
And now you're talking about it here, and now everyone knows. Yeah, no, you must get a lot of hate because I read your page all the time because you're hilarious, and
I get a lot of hate.
The people who write back to you, oh my God, like it is just amazing. People always make it about their little angel kids, and it's like it has nothing to do with that. Just you make them behave.
Well,
you got so much trouble on Dr. Phil with the chicken finger lady.
I know, she almost kicked my ass.
Yeah.
Everybody, when I did Dr. Phil, I was brought on to be the bitchy waiter, so they asked me to kind of play up my personas. I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I was stirring up trouble and arguing and being a fucking bitch. But during commercials, everybody was like, oh, this is fun, right? This is great. You know, everybody was in it. You know, everybody knew the game, except for the one woman who was upset about something that I said. She could not fucking let it go. Like, after the show was over, we were all hugging and saying goodbye. Oh, this was so fun, but not fucking processed chicken lady. She would not have it. So I wrote a couple of blogs about her.
Do you mind briefly telling them about processed chicken lady?
Oh, well, she said something about how, we were talking about children in restaurants. And my point is that, of course, kids are welcome in restaurants, fine. But if they're not going to behave, or they're going to disrupt everyone there, then maybe they shouldn't be there. You should know the boundaries of your own child. And so I was saying that, and I said, you know, if your kid can't behave, maybe you should be at a restaurant that specifically serves chicken fingers and peanut butter and jelly, you know, something that is geared for children. And she said, so my child isn't worthy of steak and they have to be fed processed chicken just because you can't handle children? And, you know, it was Dr. Phil, so I just kind of rolled my eyes and gave her the fuck you look, but I didn't actually say it.
Right.
But yeah, I blogged about her 2 or 3 times, and I just pull up her picture every once in a while.
Yeah, she was absolutely outstanding.
She was a bitch.
Yeah. So you have a book coming out. Are there any other customers or anything that sort of like jump out at you as being just the bane of your existence?
Well,
you also have a one-man show, which is amazing, and you need to go see
Woo!
it because it's fucking outstanding.
I did the show, and I had a song about old people that I wrote. I mean, it was.
I sing it to myself every time I see the old people come into it, and I love old people. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean they're great. I love them. It was the song "Short People Got No Reason," but I of course wrote lyrics about old people instead, and it was kind of a mean. It was very mean song, and it was written specifically about these 2 old people who would come into my restaurant. Who they would just come in and they're rather polite, but always just needy. And as soon as they sit down, but really before they sit down, they're telling me what they want. And they're complaining about the temperature of the restaurant or that they need bread, or they're just annoying. And you know, I just want them to have some manners. You know, say please, thank you. At least fucking take your coat off before you tell me that the bread isn't there.
Right.
And I was at work on Thursday, and they came in, and because they're regulars, and I'm always really nice to them. Don't get me wrong. I'm never as bitchy to my customers in their face as I am on my blog. You know, I would be fired, obviously. But they came in, and I saw them coming in. I was standing at the bar. I'm like, oh, fuck, it's the fucking old people. And they were fine, and I just threw some bread at their table, and I put bread plates down, even though they always tell me they don't need them, but they do. And the only thing, they were fine that night. The only thing that struck me that night was that, and it's sad, and it's not even funny, but it was funny. She had this Band-Aid on her head. And it was like a really big Band-Aid, but it was like from the middle of her forehead to like just down here, you know, right above the bridge of her nose. And it wasn't on tight, it was just kind of hanging there. And I just wanted to rip that Band-Aid off and see what was going on over there. But I didn't, because again, I would be fired, but I'll probably write a blog about it.
No, please do. So we have a question. So we did the contest last night. So the second winner, by the way, every time you get involved in my feed, some crazy people come out.
Yeah, they're crazy.
People were fighting today. People were calling each other. So what the contest was very innocent. It was like, do you have a question for Norm Lewis or the Bitchy Waiter? If I read your question during the show, you get a prize. And somehow it devolved into racist comments.
Yeah.
Like about they were like, well, I once waited on Canadians, and someone was,
I saw that.
You're racist.
Yeah.
Because I don't like Canadians, and it was like, fuck you, I'm not racist. I love Canadians. I just don't like Canadian tippers, and like they were fighting.
Yeah.
On the way here, I was in the car service. I was like, oh, it's still happening.
It's going.
Anyway, I picked a different winner. So the winner for this one is Elizabeth Molina, and I don't know this person. I think they live in Boston. I'm not sure. I just made that up. And she says, this is a great question because it's more like a would you rather in the worst way.
Oh, yeah.
And like, for example, my favorite would you rather recently we played at the restaurant was, but don't worry, James, we actually do work, is would you rather have sex with, no, Woody Allen or Stephen Hawking. So it's giving you like the worst possible scenario of like what if you had to. And of course everyone chose Stephen Hawking, except for the one girl who chose Woody Allen. She goes, he'll take care of my daughter. I was like, but okay, she wins. She wins that game. So Elizabeth says, and this is a tough one. I don't know how I would answer this.
Okay.
If you were to choose to receive 20% tip from every single table for the rest of your serving career, but have them be completely needy assholes, or receive a 10% tip and have the nicest guests who never bother you, what would you choose? Smiley face.
20%.
You know, it's so funny. It's so funny, and part of me is like, but the nicest people are the best tippers, you know? So that's a weird world where everything's opposite.
20%, because I've been waiting tables for so long that when they're bitchy and rude and needy, it just rolls off my back like water on a
Bosses
duck.
right
I
off
don't
of you.
give a shit how needy they are.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them the shit that they need, but I'm not going to go above and beyond, and I'll take their fucking 20%.
Have you ever, I mean, this is a real boss move, I only did it once, returned a tip because it was so bad and be like, you need this more than I do?
Did one time.
What happened?
I was totally embarrassed because I was working at Houlihan's, which that's not even the embarrassing part.
Is this in Times Square?
Yes,
Oh,
on
wow.
49th and 7th. It's not there anymore. It was like the Tropicana tanning zone for a while. Now it's a store or something. I worked there for 3 years, and someone gave me their money to pay, and it was one of those situations where they said, just give me $8 back, or whatever it was, and that was including my tip. So I did that, and then they left like 10 minutes later, and I didn't see a tip on the table, forgetting that the way they had asked for their change was my tip, and I just didn't recall that. I didn't register that. And I've never done this before, and I went down, I followed them downstairs, and I did the whole stupid fucking, excuse me, was there something wrong with the service? Because I noticed that there was no tip. And he said, I gave you a tip. When you gave me my change, that was included, remember? And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so sorry. So I've only done it one time, and I've never done it
It was the
since.
wrong time.
Oh yeah,
It was like the time I told you this story on stage before when I thought a window washer was catcalling me because he was singing, pretty woman, walking down. This is the one catcaller I called out. I thought he was listening to his iPad while he was watching the iPhone, sorry. He was like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, uh-oh. Real quick, you have a book coming out.
I do.
And do you have a
someday.
title yet? Do you have anything going on
I
with
don't. From what I understand, they decide the title. So,
it? It'll be called Fuck You from Gina.
Right. I like it. The title I proposed to them was The Other Side of the Menu, but Tales of the Bitchy Waiter.
I like vagina monologues.
I think it's been taken. So I don't know. I don't know what the title's going to be, and I think it's coming out in 2016, so it's so far away. But
All right.
it gives me something to look forward to as I'm bussing tables.
Well, we're very excited to have you, and thank you so much for being on. We are going to play Bitchy Waiter, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready to play Craigslist Ad or Casting Notice?
I'm totally excited.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan McDonough again.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you're playing for the same thing as Norm Lewis.
Bring it on.
But this time, if you get it wrong, you don't get the prize. I'm joking.
I'm
You
gonna
do.
get it right.
So again, sponsored by Brooklyn, a wonderful store on Smith Street. They're awesome, and these are all. You got the shot glass, which, as we know, you
use
do
that.
enjoy. Last time you did the show, we did some shots together,
Oh,
and
God, yeah, that was bad.
and some chocolate and some stuff like that.
It'll
so
all
thanks
get
again.
used up.
Thanks again to Buy Brooklyn. So now, Jordan, is this a legitimate Craigslist personal ad or a legitimate union casting notice?
Okay.
Take it away.
Seeking. Woman on the younger side. She is slim or average or curvy. The particulars are fascinating, but which they are is not overly important. No models. Her personality is pleasing. She usually follows the rules. She is shy or a little reserved. She has a little rebelliousness in her, but is mostly known as well-behaved. One who wouldn't do anything too outrageous. This is how she is known.
This is how she is known.
Well, that is so fucked up and vague. It's got to be a casting notice.
Craigslist.
Are you kidding?
Oh my God! That is crazy.
And that's how I met my boyfriend. You still win though, Buy Brooklyn. So I would like to thank again my guest Norm Lewis, who I took to eat, but it was so nice to come. You guys, thank you so much for coming.